So we're currently in patch 4.0 of Genshin Impact, quite a long way already, and we are actually almost at 3 years anniversary. There's been so much content, and that especially comes for free-to-play player as well, because the good thing about Genshin Impact is that Hoyoverse can be quite generous in terms of some good free-to-play content. You know, I would give Hoyoverse some credit in regard to that. Now, in today's video, I want to discuss some of the best free-to-play weapon in Genshin Impact up until this point, so that we have a refresh idea of some good free-to-play weapon we currently having in the game, or if there are any of us who are new or returning player to Genshin Impact, you can also have an updated information as well. Quick disclaimer before we get into the video, guys, the weapon list is generally my own opinion regarding the weapons that are good. It's based on my personal experience of long time playing Genshin Impact and using the weapons, and so if I do miss any weapon that's actually on your personal list, just feel free to drop in the comment section and I would love to discuss it there. So with that, guys, let us jump into the video. Now, first off, we kind of have to determine what are considered as free-to-play weapons. So how I would define it is that basically if anything is limited on the banner, they would consider as not free to play. Well, you can say that even free to play player can have the potential to get limited weapons. Then if that is the case, then everything would be considered as free to play, right? Here we would take the path of getting the weapons that cost you the least amount of primogems while yielding you a very good return on investment. And of course, many of it will be free or you getting them in the game. Also, afterward, I would consider some of the standard 5-star weapon as well, though they are technically not truly free to play as it may take you a very long time to get, but as long as you play Genshin Impact, you should have a chance to get some of them. So I will be discussing that too. First, to see what currently are still some of the good 5-star being featured in the standard banner. So first off, we'll look into the 3 and 4-star weapon list. First on the list would be the White Tassel. Nowadays, I would say that the White Tassel isn't truly as popular as it was at the very start of the game. However, it still holds up its value, especially when you are technically lacking in DPS weapon of your choice, since the White Tassel overall stats is still pretty good, with giving you a 23.4% crit rate and almost a 50% normal attack increase, so a perfect pole arm for DPS character that focus in normal attack, especially like Xiao, Hu Tao, Rosaria, and Sino. I know that Xiao and Hu Tao's are more toward plunging and charge attack. However, if you are using this White Tassel onto them, then they'll be more focused on doing normal attack and they'll still be able to dish out pretty decent damage for using a 3-star weapon. There definitely will be more normal attack polearm character coming into the future, so I do believe that the White Tassel value will still be holding up and a good potential investment when you are free to play. Next on the list, we have the Black Tassel. This too is also a very good polearm, especially for character that scales off of HP, because it gives you up to a 47% HP increase, which is immense, though we're not going to be using its passive too much regarding damage against slime, 80%, which is kind of like a bummer. However, the amount of HP it gives is more than enough for it to make many of the use case across HP scaling character, especially like Zhongli, Thoma, Yao Yao, and Mika. Those character benefits a lot from HP increase, so many of the time I personally is still using this specific weapon. Talking about HP scaling weapon, we also have the Recurve Bow. This bow is still very beneficial, especially when we almost have no other HP scaling bow in the game right now apart from Aqua Simulacra that gives you a bit of HP passive increase, but of course that is a 5-star weapon and not every of us will be able to get our hands on that. So any of the time you're using character that's good with HP in terms of using a bow, recurve bow for a 3-star weapon is still pretty valuable. And of course we know that there will be more HP scaling bow character coming into the game in the future, so this bow will still have its value for quite some time. After that we have the Harbinger of Dawn. Up until now I am still so surprised that Hoyoverse decided to give a 3-star weapon this great of a stat. Even though base attack stat is only sitting at 401, it's giving you a 47% crit damage increase with up to 28% crit rate when your HP is above 90%. So the downside is that you won't be able to use this sword alongside with Bennett, but any other healer should generally be fine. Overall, still one of the best sword to use on any of the DPS sword character if you are lacking in good sword DPS weapon. It is also a 3-star, so yeah, even if you're not using this weapon at this point in time, it's just still good to have, you know, like an R5 copy of it sitting in your inventory. So who knows, maybe down the line you decide to use it because this sword still holds up its value pretty well. Next up we have the Favonius and Sack series. I would always recommend this series, even though they are technically on Banner's pool. So yes, they may be tough to get at times. However, I do believe that they kind of appeared on most of the banners, so you should be able to get a copies of this series here and there whenever you do your pulls. Now the reason why I really recommend this 2 series, especially for bow and sword, it's because these weapons are still very good with any of the support or sub DPS character in the game. You may even want multiple copies of R5 for bow and sword because I believe that more than one support character on the team would love to be holding this weapon. Like for me, I'm already trying to build the 3rd R5 refinement of my Favonius sword because so many character on my team actually demands for it. The amount of energy support these 2 weapons are able to give you is just so good, especially for the Favonius series where it gives you white energy particles that helps your team a lot with energy regen. Sack series is more for characters that have very long E skill cooldown, and that's also going to be very beneficial, which is the reason why it's technically still the BIS option whenever you're using Xingqiu, due to his insanely long E skill cooldown, and burst uptime is especially important on Xingqiu. Next up we have Thrilling Tales of Dragons. 50% attack increase for your character is still so very good. It's probably ranked as the 3-star weapon that's still being used the most at this point in time, because whenever you look at it in Genshin Impact, we still don't have weapons that actually gives your other team members buff. That most of the time actually goes toward artifacts, but having weapons that are giving out buff for your team member is still quite rare and only lies in terms of 5-star weapon most of the time, you know, like the Elegy series for example. Therefore, whenever you use a support catalyst user, it's most likely going to be Thrilling Tales of Dragon. So I believe that unless Hoyoverse actually give out a, you know, free versions of something like this within an event, this weapon is still going to hold its spot for a very long time. I know that you can only obtain it whenever you do your pulls, however you get like around 8 3-star weapon on each of your 10 pulls, so the chances of you getting this weapon is rather quite easy. Next up we have the Catch. I would say the ultimate free weapon that Hoyoverse have given to us in the game. Basically still the absolute best free to play weapon until now, because the Catch can actually rival stats of a 5-star weapon apparently. The stats are just so good, very beneficial for characters in support and especially sub DPS role. Therefore character like Xiangling, Raiden Shogun, Zhongli or Rosaria for example, very benefit of off of this weapon. Generally, this kind of like a BIS option whenever you're using your Xiangling, so it's very competitive for character to be able to use this weapon, since of course you only have one R5 copy of this per game, and most of the time it's already on your Xiangling. So yeah, there's also a free-to-play weapon that I would like to recommend too, which is the Moon Piercer, and this is the poem craftable options of Sumeru weapon series. The stats are still holding up pretty decent, with giving you 110 EM plus a potential of up to 32% attack increase whenever you're doing reactions regarding to Dendro, and a very high base attack of 565 still holds this poem up to be a very good DPS sub DPS poem options if you are ever lacking in any. So the downside is that you have to be using Dendro reaction teams, so this is kind of like an honorable mention on my part. Now, up until this point, we haven't seen any weapon regarding the Fontaine new weapon series, and you might be wondering how good they actually are. And yes, I would still recommend the Fontaine weapon series because guys, this series are generally still the best for your DPS character, and I would say any of your DPS character apart from the poem, which we'll discuss in a bit, because all the other 4 weapons are just so good on DPS character that whenever you're feeling that you're lacking in DPS weapon, you can just go ahead and forge the Fontaine weapon series, and it will be a good investment on your part. Now, the reason why I say everything apart from the poem is that the poem isn't really actually too good, since it's only giving you like a mid-tier HP increase and up to a 16 energy regen every 10 seconds whenever you're healed. That's a little bit too much investment regarding how many resources you need to be putting into compared to, you know, we've already got the Black Tassel. That's like literally the best weapon in the game regarding to HP increase for your character. So overall, Black Tassel is just a much better investment whenever you're using a HP poem for character that scales off of HP. But other than that, any of the other Fontaine weapon would be good whenever we are considering DPSs. So those are the 3 and 4 star weapon. Now, as I mentioned, I want to touch on the 5 stars on the standard banner. Again, I do believe that as long as you've been playing Genshin Impact and save up your pool for quite some time, you should be able to get at least some of these weapons. First off, one of the better weapons that you can get is gonna be the Skyward Harp. Very well balanced weapon that have good base attack of 674, one of the highest base attack in the game. It gives you a 22% crit rate and also a 20% crit damage, while a bit of extra damage within its passive. Overall, a very well balanced weapon and can generally fit onto any DPS bow character of yours, making your build a lot easier. I would say the Skyward Harp is pretty much universal when it comes to DPS character build. Next, we have the Jade Spear, a bit similar to Skyward Harp, where also high base attack, 22% crit rate increase, also decent attack increase, especially for your on-field character, plus have very nice design as well. I always love the Jade weapon series. Also a decently universal 5-star poem for you to use whenever you have it. Then we have the Amos bow, a bow that actually gives you a ton of attack increase. Using this bow, and you're always going to be focusing on building crit rate and crit damage onto your character. So yeah, also a universally good DPS bow option for you. A little bit harder to build compared to Skyward Harp, but the attack increase it gives to your character is just so high. Next, we have the Wolf Gravestone. This is kind of like the Amos bow version of Claymore, because as you can see, also attack increase very high. But the interesting thing is that it also has the potential of giving all of your other party member a 40% attack increase, which is also very good. Once again, a rare thing for a weapon to have regarding support giving capability to your team. So yes, WGS is very valuable if you do have it, can fit in most of your DPS Claymore character. Skyward Atlas is still good if you have it, very high base attack as well as plus 33% attack increase. However, it also gives you a 12% elemental damage bonus too. Still a decently good recommendation regarding a DPS catalyst if you have it on your account. Last prayer, I would say a decently honorable mention on my part because it gives you pretty high crit rate alongside with a potential 32% elemental damage bonus, though this catalyst is not meant for any of the sub DPS character and only for hyper catalyst carries. So as long as you're having your catalyst character onto the field, this catalyst will be able to give you a tremendous boost, therefore making it still very valuable and a good option to use. Now some of us may still say that Skyward Blade can still be good because it's giving you high energy recharge, bits of crit rate and an attack boost here and there within the passive. However, generally guys, I would say that this still can't beat Favonius or Sack Sword, since if you're using energy recharge, you're mostly going to be using it on support or sub DPS character, therefore you won't be making use of its passive. Or if you're focusing on a character that uses his passive, they're most of the time not going to be making use of the energy recharge second stat that it gives, unless it's a character that uses Emblem Fate set, then maybe this is decent. So I would basically put this in an honorable mention, but overall if you want a sword that gives high energy recharge, then definitely Favonius and Sack Sword is still going to be a lot better. So overall guys, that would be my saying on some of the best free-to-play weapons we have at this point in time. I hope the video was helpful and valuable for you. If you have any questions or other recommendation, feel free to leave it down in the comment section and I or some other lovely Genshin player will get to you there. Now guys, if you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as it is a free way to support me on my channel, and also I do a lot of giveaways, so that's going to be very beneficial for you as well. I really appreciate you guys sticking with me to this part of the video, and with that I wish you a super day and I'll catch you on my next video.